Welcome to today's webinar on streamlining your document review process with Zoho Writer's workflows. My name is Balaji and I'll be your host for this session. I also have Rohit with me to address any questions that rise over the webinar. So you have a Q&A option on the bottom, and by clicking on it, you can raise your questions and Rohit will be assisting you with them. So in this webinar, we'll discuss how you can use Zoho Writer's workflows to streamline your document review process and improve your organization's productivity. So moving on to this slide, so we have our agenda for today's session. We'll start by discussing what a document workflow is, followed by an overview of Zoho Writer's workflows. We'll then demonstrate how you can create a workflow in Zoho Writer and show you how it can be used to streamline your review process. Finally, we'll wrap up with a Q&A session, so where you can ask any questions you may have. And before we get started, so just a quick question to you guys. Like, what is the current document workflow process that you have? Do you use any tools? And like, what is the process that you're looking for to implement in Zoho Writer? So you can address them in the Q&A section, and it would be helpful for us to determine whether we could implement this in our process. So let's get started with our first topic. So what is a document workflow? A document workflow is a series of steps or tasks that a document goes through from creation to completion. So it's a predefined set of actions designed to facilitate the creation, review, approval, and distribution of a document within an organization. So document workflows can be customized to meet the specific needs of an organization and may include additional steps such as document routing, notifications, and maybe even escalation procedures. So the main purpose of a document workflow is to streamline and automate document-related processes, reduce errors, improve productivity, and ensure compliance with organizational and regulatory requirements. A typical document workflow includes three main stages, so namely creation, review, and approval. So the creation stage is where the document is created by the author. The review stage involves one or more reviewers who review the document to ensure its accuracy and completeness. The approval stage is where the document is approved by one or more authorized persons before it can be considered final. I can help you with specific business use cases that would help you understand what a document workflow is, or even generally what a workflow is. So starting with a document approval. So one of the most common use cases of the workflow feature is document approval. So organizations can use the approval workflow to ensure that important documents like maybe proposals and reports are reviewed and approved by the appropriate people before they are released. And the other examples may be a contract management. For example, let's take a legal department. So in a legal department, workflows can be used to manage the life cycle of a contract. A review workflow can be set up to ensure that contracts are reviewed by multiple attorneys before they are signed, and an approval workflow can be set up to ensure that the contracts are approved by the appropriate authorities before they are executed. And namely, so what we'll be discussing here is I'll be making use of a complaints document and how this complaints document is sent for an approval workflow or maybe even a review workflow. So in this specific use case, to make sure that documents comply with internal and external regulations, maybe, for example, a financial institution might use workflows to ensure that financial reports are reviewed and approved by the complaints team before they are published. So these are just a few examples of how this can be used. And to take a closer look of workflows within Zoho Writer, so up to the next slide. So in Zoho Writer, so there are three default workflows that we provide. So which is the review workflow, the approval workflow, and both combined together. So we have the review and approval workflow. So these workflows are designed to make the process of creating, reviewing, and approving documents more efficient, which also helps in reducing errors and ensuring it meets all the requirements within an organization. So the first one being a review workflow. So this is used to ensure that a document is reviewed by the reviewers within your organization before it is considered final. For example, a legal team might use a review workflow to ensure that a legal contract is reviewed by multiple attorneys, just as we discussed in the previous slide. So this will help you with omitting any errors within the document. And the second one is an approval workflow. So it is used to obtain approvals for a document before it is published or released to the intended audience. For example, let's take a marketing team. A marketing team might use an approval workflow to get approval from their management team for a new advertising campaign before it is launched. So this workflow ensures that the document has been reviewed and approved by the necessary parties before it goes public. That is, it is sent out for an advertisement. And the last one is a review and approval workflow. So this is used to is designed to facilitate the review and approval process of a document. So it allows users to route a document to one or more reviewers for feedback and then to approvers for final approval before it is published or released. So this ensures that the document is reviewed and approved, and necessary feedback is also provided to make sure all the changes are done in the document before it is finalized. So by making use of these three workflows in Zoho Writers, so you can easily streamline any document related processes, and and definitely this increases the productivity within the organization. While maybe other applications could offer workflow features similar to Zoho Writer, so there are several factors that set Zoho Writer's workflows apart. So Zoho Writer's workflows is completely user friendly. So it has an interface that makes it easy to set up and initiate workflows even for non-technical users. So it is easier to use and requires very minimal technical expertise because the buttons within the document are placed within reach. So you just have to click on assign workflow. You can initiate the workflow based on, it can be either manual or even automatic. It is completely up to the user who sets up the workflow. So Zoho Writer also gives you automatic reminders, so which helps you with setting up due dates or setting up due dates, which sends out email to the approvers or even the reviewers. So it is much easier for you to work on. Also, as you would know, Zoho has multiple applications, and all these applications are integrated within each other. So down the line, it would be much easier if you could use Zoho Writer's workflow, which also has an execute custom function option once the workflow is done. So by doing so, so you do everything within a single window and within the same Zoho ecosystem. So it is much easier for you to manage your documents, your workflows, and everything directly from Zoho Writer. So this is how it sets apart. Zoho Writer's workflow sets apart with other competitors. And so not without any further ado, so let us see how you can enable. So by default, the option for workflows is not enabled for any WorkDrive team. So to enable it, so the super admin has to go to their admin panel and enable this option. So let's say if a team member tries to open a writer document and tries to assign a workflow. So he gets a prompt message saying that the workflow is not yet activated for this team and that they would have to reach out to their super admin to have it enabled. So the super admin simply has to go to their writer's admin panel by clicking on the profile icon on the top right corner and then going to the admin panel. And from there, so you have a configuration button on the left side menu. And under configuration, they have to click on workflow settings to have it enabled. But let's say if the super admin tries to enable it, so they just simply goes to the configuration option and simply enables it. And to get in action, so how to initiate a workflow in Zoho Writer. So that is starting from, we'll learn how to assign and start workflows in Writer. So starting from assigning the workflow, how to initiate it, the options that is available within that, and like how you would be able to set up reminders or due date, or how you would assign a, an approver or even a reviewer. So I'll be making use of a live document here. So this is the one. So this is a compliance document that I'm working on, and I would like to send it out for an approval or even a review process. So which comes in the next screen. So this is the page where this is a different account. So this is one of the one account in which I'm working on the document, and this is the secondary account in which I'm going to sending it for review. All right. So as you could see on the top, you have the option called as assign workflow. So to assign a workflow, you'll have to open the document and then click on the assign workflow in the top, and you have an option called as assign workflow on the bottom. So as I've already used workflows in this document, you have two options, which is view previous workflows. We will get into detail down the line, like in our upcoming slides. But now you have an assign workflow button. So you simply click on it. And from here, you can choose a predefined workflow from the list of available workflows. And then you can select when to start the workflow, either manually or automatically. So additionally, you can optionally configure what action to perform after the workflow. So under workflow, so as we discussed in the previous slide, so you have three options. So either it could be a review workflow, an approval workflow, and a review and approval workflow. So a review workflow would be you just be sending it for a review. An approval workflow is directly sending it for approval, and the review and approval workflow is sending it for both a review and an approval. So if you click on the view workflow option, so we display a blueprint where you can see you're sending it for review. And once it's sent for review, a review is done on the document. So either the reviewer would suggest changes within the document, or they would just simply mention that it has been completely reviewed. And up next, so you have the approval workflow. So you have the same type of blueprint. And from here, you could see that it is sent out for review. Sorry, it has been sent out for approval. And once the changes are suggested, so you can either continue with the document, or you can directly mark it for approval. And the last one being review and approval workflow. So this has a complicated blueprint. So it has been sent out for review. Once it's sent out for review and the changes are suggested, and once the suggested changes are done, it has been sent out for approval. And once the approval is done, the process is complete. All right. So now let's move on to starting a workflow. So once your document is ready for review or approval, so you can click on the Start Workflow button. And based on the workflow you have chosen, you will need to pick an assigner or a reviewer or approver to start the workflow. This workflow will then proceed according to the predefined workflow parameters. So let's say the first thing that I'll have to do is I'm setting it for review. I'll have to choose, so this time I'm choosing manually. Under automatically, you have two options. You can either choose a document event. So which is here, which is marked as ready. So let's say the document is available as a draft now. So once it is marked as ready, you would be sending it for approval. So whereas you have other options called as setting it on a scheduled time. So this is something that we are currently working on. And once it's available, so you can schedule it based on your preference. So I'm setting it on a manual option. So once this is done, if I click on set workflow, so this specific workflow will be assigned to this document, and you'll have to reload the document so that the approval, the workflow is up right here. And from here, you can see that the document has been assigned to a specific workflow, and you'll just have to click on the start workflow option. So if you click on the drop-down menu, so it gives you options that a specific workflow has been assigned to this document, and you can either edit the workflow or even remove it based on your preference. And if I click on go ahead and click on start workflow, so you can see that the document is ready for review. So once you are ready to send the document for review, all you have to do is just click on ready for review, and you'll have to click on send for review. So this shows you a timeline of what has happened to this current document. So in this current state, it's still an editing stage. So the person who is logged in right now is the owner of the specific date and the document. So once I click on send for review, so I'll be prompted with a dialog, and I'll also have to add a note. So that is, I'm the author, I'm the document owner now. So let me just mention that kindly review the document. And from here, under reviewers, I'll have to choose a person who needs to review this document. So let me choose team admin 1. And if required, I can set up due dates as well. So one useful feature when assigning a document for reviewal is setting up due dates and reminders. This ensures that the process is completed on time, and the respective owner will be sent for will receive early reminders based on the due date set. So if required, I can set this as well. I'll just click on send for review. So once the document is sent for review, I'll have to reload the page once, and I would not be able to make any changes to the document here. So this will load a new page for me, and I'll only have the following options. So document navigation, which gives me the headings within the specific document. I'll be able to like add comments and view the comments added by the reviewer. So you can also see the current state, which is sent for review. And if I click on it, you can see the timeline of this document. And if needed, I can also click on view blueprint and history. So to see the current state of the document. right? So this is where I've sent the document for review. And to get to the reviewer's perspective, so getting to the next tab, I'll have to reload the page once. And from here, so I could see the documents state. You can see that it has been sent out for review. So it has been sent out for review. So you can see that the document is ready for review. You can see the current state, and I have to make a review process here. So what I can simply do is simply add comments to make sure that the changes are done within the document. So all I have to do is just simply select the content that I would need, click on add comment. Simple as that. So based on the feedback that is provided, the reviewer can give out the options here. And from here, so once I'm ready to either mark the process, so I can either click on mark, I can click on mark review and choose whether the document is reviewed or if I've suggested changes to the document. So based on this, the state would vary. So let's say if I choose I've suggested changes to the document, once I added, click on mark review and reload the document. So once again, the owner of the specific document or the specific state has varied. So getting back to the original author, and from here, so you could see that the changes were suggested. And you can see that the comment has been highlighted as well. Click on changes suggested. So once I'm ready, and let's say if I've resolved this, so I have to again click on changes suggested and resubmit for review. And getting back to the reviewer, so if I'm okay with this document and if it is good to go, so all I have to do is just click on the current state, and then let's say the reviewer is good to go. So mark the document as reviewed. So mark review. So the document has reached its final state. So that is all the edits were done in the document, and the document would no longer be editable as it has reached the final stage of the workflow, and you will not be able to make any changes within the document here because the document has been reviewed, and you can proceed with whatever needs to be done within the document. All right. So yes. So in the next section, a comprehensive history and an audit trial. So in this section, we'll discuss how to view the status and history of a document's workflow by viewing a document's workflow status and history. So you can see where the document is in the approval process, who has reviewed or approved it, and when it was reviewed or approved. So to check the current workflow state and summary, so you'll have to make this process. So you'll have to click on reviewed. So you can see the current change that has been done. So the current state is reviewed. So along with the date and time, along with who did the review or who submitted it. So this gives you a complete audit trail that has occurred in this document with each information along with the name it was done and the date and time as well. So this gives you a comprehensive idea of what has occurred in the complete document. But let's say if you would like to view the workflow that the previous workflows that were done within the document, all you have to just do is just click on view blueprint and history. And from here, so you can see the status history. So with the name, the date and time. But let's say if you want to see all the previous workflows within the document, you can see that here as well. So all you have to do is just click on view all workflows of the document. So anything done within this document for pertaining to workflows that can be seen here. Right? So viewing a document's workflow status and history is an important feature that helps you track the document's progress through the approval process. And by viewing the document's journey through the workflow, you can see who performed what action and when, and even view previous versions of the documents at each stage. So just clicking on the date. So this gives the previous version. And if you want to get back to the latest document, you can just simply click on this button. All right. And getting to the next part, so the post workflow action. So we discussed whether like what workflow can be uploaded, can be used here, whether the workflow has to be started manually or automatically. And the third one here is executing a custom function. All right. So let me just abort this workflow so that I can show you how a custom function can be done once the workflow is completed. So let me go ahead and assign a workflow. So third option here, which is executing a custom function. So if you click on configure, so we provide you two options to either create a new function or use a function from the gallery. So from the gallery, we have predefined functions. So a published document and a rename document option. So before you make use of these functions, you'll have to make sure that you create a connection. So based on the operation that you're going to perform, let's say if you're looking to publish a document in Medium, so you can use of this connection, or like based on your requirement, you can do this. So in this document, I've created four functions. The first one being a send email. So what I've configured here is, so based on workflow that is done, I can choose whether we can send out emails once the workflow is done. So what the specific function will do is, so once the document has been reviewed, an email will go out stating that a review has been done for this document, and then based on the email address that I've provided as well. And the next one here is a published document. So here I have connected Zoho Writer and Medium. And once the workflow is completed, the document will be automatically published in Medium. The third one is a rename document. So where based on the current state, let's say the document is reviewed and is complete, the document will be renamed. So the name of the document is currently compliance. So it would be renamed as compliance underscore reviewed. And the last one, this is one of my favorites. So what I've done here is I've based on the workflow that is completed. So this would automatically add uh, the information that I've provided to a sheet. So here I'm getting the reviewer, the current state of the document, the initiator, the name of the document, the URL, and the current version. So this will help me keep track of all the documents that I have sent for review. So all I have to do is just make sure that this specific custom function has been associated when I'm sending it for approval or review. So automating workflows can save a lot of time and effort. And so we offer several ways to trigger them automatically. For example, so once the workflow is complete, you can set write as pre-built actions from the library or make use of your own functions. So this could include renaming the documents, moving it to a specific folder, or even publishing it to your desired platform. For example, Medium. So you can execute custom functions at the end of the workflow. So this way you can configure one or more actions to be performed once the workflow is completed. So with Zoho Writer, so you have the flexibility to automate your workflows and customize the post workflow actions according to your requirements. And getting to the next one. So this is what you have planned in the product roadmap. So let's say, imagine you need to send a document for approval to a client who doesn't use Zoho. So with the first requirement that I mentioned, so you'll be able to specify their email address and include them in the workflow. So even if they're not part of your organization, so that is sending out an review or approval to someone who's not part of your Zoho team or even who does not have a Zoho account. And the next one, so with custom functions and REST APIs, you can automate the process of sending documents for review or approval. For example, you can set up a custom function that automatically sends a document for approval to specific team members based on the document's need. The third one being sign workflows. So these are essential for businesses that need to collect signatures from clients or stakeholders. So with a new sign workflow blueprint, so you can create a workflow that sends a document to be signed after it has been approved. The workflow will track the document's progress throughout the signing process, keeping an audit trail for complaints purposes as well. And so before making use of mail merge templates, fillable templates, or sign templates, there is automation templates within Zoho Writer. So you may want to get approval from a supervisor or manager. So with this feature, you can set up an approval workflow that ensures these templates meet the required standards before they can be used. And the last one, in many businesses, proposals and contracts go through a negotiation process involving multiple teams and stakeholders. So with this blueprint, you can set up a workflow that takes a document from the drafting stage through internal and external approvals and finally to signing. So this can help ensure that the document is thoroughly reviewed and approved before it is signed and executed. So these are what we have planned currently in the product roadmap. All right. So let's say if you have like other requirements like how to run a workflow at scheduled intervals, maybe like set up like for 6 months. And if you'd like to set up a workflow automatically to expire or turn off. So let's say if you want to pause your workflow or how you can retrieve the information about workflows to external tools after the workflow is complete. Or maybe can I initiate like if you'd like to initiate a workflow automatically after an event that happens outside of Zoho Writer. So if you have questions like these, yes, we do have them planned in our product roadmap. So we are looking to implement as much as we can within the workflow documentation. Additionally, so we have another option that I can educate you on. So before you sending it out for reviewal or approval, so under the review tab, so I have something called as collaboration and track changes. So once this is enabled, let's say multiple people are working on the same document. So you could see that a different color is shown here. So that is someone has made changes and so based on the permissions that you have in this specific document, you can either accept or reject the changes that are needed. So even this can be fruitful. So before you send it out for a review. Let's say even if you send it out for review, when the track changes option is enabled, so the end user, that is the reviewer, so once they add the changes within the document, so you can either choose to accept or reject them. So it is as simple as just clicking on the text and click on accept and reject. It's not just that you have to do it via comments. Even track changes can be used here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the webinar today. I hope it was helpful. Thank you.